What's up everyone, this is Wolf94. Gonna do a deck profile today for one of my favorite decks that came in the 5th generation. Kinda revised it for the expanded format of today. Added some of the new cards. So what we have is Rayeels, or the way I call this deck, Neo Rayeels or Neo Rayeels. So the purpose of this deck is obviously centered around this card, Electric. Has a very powerful ability, a very useful ability. Energy acceleration from the discard pile. You get one per turn, and you can attach it to one of your benched Pokemon. So, with this, naturally you can power up many different attackers, whether they're lightning Pokemon or not, or they just use lightning energy. And classically, one of the best cards, if not the best partner for this deck, was Rayquaza EX, modeled after the old Rayquaza EX from EX Dragon, long time ago now. This card, with Dragon Burst, has the potential to kill anything it wants in one hit, as long as it has the necessary energy. So what you normally do is, or what you used to do at least, is you would get a bunch of these guys in play, okay? Attach a bunch of lightning energy, manually attach a fire energy, and normally you'd put like 3 so you could kill, so you can knock out EX Pokemon or most EX Pokemon in one hit. You know, one hit knockouts. If you can pull this like every turn, it's pretty powerful. You know, getting 2 prize cards so quickly can be very pressuring to your opponent. Um, so in this version, I run 3 electrics. Um, I think it's enough. I don't like to miss an attachment per turn too. So I think 3 is enough, is consistent enough. You can try 4 if you'd like, if you have the space. But the thing is, space is an issue in this deck. Well, in most decks, I want this to be consistent, but I want it to have room for text. So Rayquaza, I play 2 of this guy because there are other attackers too. 2 is a good number because you don't want to put this guy out and let him die. You want him to go out and at least kill something. Uh, you'll be able to recycle them, you see, later on too, but 2 is a good number. You can try 3 if you'd like, but like I said, there are other attackers. Okay, so for other basic attackers, let's cover the other big one, Raikou EX. So this is another classic card that was used in this kind of deck. It's not as powerful as Rayquaza, but it has a different role. Volt Absorb is a snipe attack, and what that means, if you don't know, is it means you can target Pokemon on the bench, meaning you can hit whatever you want. Now, if they block damage with Mr. Mime, which we run as well, then it's not going to do anything over there, so you have to use them on the active. But it can be very useful, it can be very disruptive, and quite importantly, Garbodor, a card that maybe you know, is a card that blocks abilities if it has a Pokemon tool attached to it. And if you lose your abilities in this type of deck, you will very likely lose. It relies on the energy acceleration from electric, because a lot of your attacks are costly and well, they require a lot of energies to work, and you also lose them too. So this is why you need this guy to get them back. There's also lightning as opposed to Rayquaza, which is dragon, so you have coverage as well. There's a lot of Pokemon that are always weak to lightning. Now the first attack, Thunder Fang, is more of a, I guess, opener attack. The paralysis is handy if you hit it. 2 for 30 isn't the best, but I mean, it's okay. 1 retreat is good too. Would have been better if it was free, but yeah. Because of power creep, obviously this guy is not as good as it used to be, but I still haven't found a better substitute, or maybe there is one that I don't know. Feel free to tell me if you think there is a good replacement. But you know, Raikou is also like my favorite of the legendary dogs. Pretty cool Pokemon, so, you know, I got the full art. It's kind of too hard to pass up, to be honest. And yeah, the snipe is important. Okay, so for other basic attackers, well, we also have the regular Raikou from Breakthrough. This Pokemon is very fantastic, very solid basic Pokemon, has good HP, has an ability that makes him even sturdier. If you have a lightning energy attached to him, you get 20 damage reduced each time your opponent attacks. So let's say they want to kill you in one hit, instead of 120, they would have to do 140. And you know, if they use weaker attacks, this guy becomes even more powerful. And the attack is very good. Thunder Lance is basically modeled after Keldeo's famous Secret Sword. I'm not sure if there was anybody else that used that type of attack first. It does 50 damage for 3 colorless, but you do 20 more damage for each lightning energy attached to this Pokemon. So that means if you have 3 to, you know, pay for the regular attack cost, it's doing 110 for 3, which is good. And obviously if you put more, it does more damage. You put like 6 or 7 of these and you kill big guys in one hit. Very good. It also has a resistance to metal, which is useful. It's nice to have. One retreat is good. It's all around very solid Pokemon. Very good non-EX or GX attacker. Then we have Rayquaza. This might be a questionable Pokemon for a lot of people these days, but I don't know. I think he's still kind of good. 120 HP is good as well. Big basic. It doesn't have a good ability like Raikou. It has 2 attacks instead, which are, I guess, they're okay. Dragon Pulse is a fast attack for 140, but the discarding effect can't be fatal. You really don't want to use this unless you really know what you're doing, like you're planning for, I guess, a 2-shot kill. You use this and then you know, okay, I'm going to use Shred and get the KO. If there's no point in using Dragon Pulse, there's no point in using it. Like if you're not going to get a 2-hit KO or something, but it depends. Sometimes you want to use it if you know you have crap cards on top of your deck. There's a lot of variables, but it's a fast attack, not the best. I think I would have preferred if it was like 30 and costless or something, but you know, it's there. Shred is your main attack. That's 3 for 90. Uh, Not the best, but what you can do with this is if you play a mirror match, which is not that likely, but if you play against Pokemon that are weak dragon, you can use this and it does hit for weakness, which means you can do 180 or more if you have like a Fighting Fury belt or something in it on it, and hit for weakness and hit for really good damage. But it's not affected by any other effects. So a lot of Pokemon that are block basic Pokemon like with safeguard ability, or like the new Ninetales from Burning Shadows that has I don't remember the name, what's it was called, Alolan Veil or something, or Aurora Veil, or basically blocks GX and EX Pokemon. Well, I guess it doesn't block basic Pokemon, but there are other Pokemon that block basic Pokemon. You can hit them, there's no problem. 3 retreat is kind of terrible, and we don't really run heavy ball. There aren't any other Pokemon in order to run that, to search it, but we can use Nest Ball, which we'll see pretty soon. Decent Pokemon. Maybe you can replace this with another Raikou or Zekrom or another good Pokemon, but I run him. Feel free to change him if you want to. This is by no means the greatest build. I use the cards that I have, but it's a good model for sure. So for other Pokemon, Keldeo EX is an important card. Uh, Maybe you want to run 2 of these guys instead of 1, but I always found that 1 is enough. For me, this is important because with the rush-in ability, you can rush in, become the active Pokemon, and this guy is usually going to have a Float Stone attached to him. And Float Stone, if you don't know, the retreat cost for the Pokemon this card is attached to is free. So a lot of the times what you do is you use this guy's ability, get him active, so you can put the energy that you want on your basic Pokemon. Because remember, Electric can't put these on anything it wants. It can't put it on active Pokemon. So you use this guy, attach the energy you want, and then you retreat. And a lot of the times, maybe you'll attach one or two energies and retreat with them manually. Sometimes you have a lot of energies to spare once you get going with electrics. And there's a stadium to help you with this too. So yeah, maybe you want to run another one. You can also use Zorok if you want from Breakthrough. Is a stage 1 Pokemon, but he's also a decent attacker. He's not an EX either, but because you have to evolve him, he's quite slower and requires more space. So I wouldn't really recommend him, but you can try him. Okay, so these are the Pokemon. Oh, and Mr. Mime, how can I forget? You can use the Fairy one or you can use the Psychic one. I use the Fairy one because it also has a Darkness resistance, so maybe that can come up. There's practically nothing else to distinguish him. I guess the weakness is different, but you know, it has a Darkness resistance, but both of them have 70 HP, both of them 1 retreat. I like to run this guy in most of my decks. Uh, he's a good guy maybe to start with as a staller, or you normally want to have him on your bench to block bench damage. I don't really like bench damage, and especially when you run small guys like these, you don't want them to get picked up, Dynamos. You don't want them to get knocked out, and a lot of the times you want to have a bunch of these guys. You don't want to put like only one if you can help it. You want to have a bunch, so if one gets knocked out, maybe you can have one left, so you can evolve with Electric the next turn. Okay, so for trainers, so we used to run Ultra Balls and stuff in this sort of deck. It's probably a good idea to still do that, but because there's Nest Ball, this new card, I decided to go with this. I only own one, and I don't know even if I owned more, if I would run it. Search your deck for a basic Pokemon and put it onto the bench. So it instantly puts it on the bench, which maybe isn't the greatest thing. But search your deck for any basic Pokemon is quite strong because you can not only get your Dynamos, but you can get Rayquazas, you can get Raikou, you can basically get all Pokemon except from Electric, which we have it sorted out because we run Level Ball, 4 of these. So this is what you use to get the smaller guys, Dynamos. You can also get Mr. Mime, but you can also get Electric. Nest Ball can get Electric. So you use Level Ball. Search this guy's quick, pretty good card. Maybe you want to run 3 and run one more Nest Ball or Ultra Ball. And the reason I say Ultra Ball is because even though you have to discard, sometimes you do want to discard, so you can put those lightning energy in the discard pile so you can use. But I feel like with a lot of the cards I'm running, I don't need to run Ultra Ball. So I decided not to run it. So yeah. One of the replacements for Ultra Ball is Battle Compressor. Now normally you wouldn't run this. I never run this before, but I decided to run it this time. It instantly puts lightning energy if you want to. We can put 1 or we can put 2. I don't think you want to put 3, but maybe you want to get rid of a Pokemon that is no longer useful. Like maybe you feel like you don't need Rayquaza or Mr. Mime or another card that you feel like you're not going to use. Maybe you want to put Lysander or another supporter so you can instantly use VS Secret and get it. It's also a consistency card. It's a decent card to use. Since this is expanded format, we run an ace deck. I go with computer search. I used to go with master ball, but well, because I didn't have computer search, but also because you didn't have nest ball back then. But and master ball was good. I would usually search for a Quasis or maybe a Raikou or something. But computer search is always good. Consistency card, discard two. You would be happy to discard lightning energy, and you grab whatever you want. You don't have to show it to the opponent. Okay, so Max Potion. This is 100% a tech card. I never really ran this card in this type of deck either, but I decided to run it this time because a lot of times, Rayquaza attacks, you're only left with one energy, so if he's damaged, you can use this to heal. Uh, I would say this is one of the cards that maybe you want to avoid. If you want to avoid any cards from my deck profile, this is probably one of the first cards to avoid. There's better cards maybe to put, better consistency cards, but I decided to try it out, especially because we run Fighting Fury Belt, which you'll see pretty soon. Professor's Letter, a very good trainer card, item card. Add 2 basic energies. This is good because you can add fire energy, which is important, as you'll see later, and lightning energy. I used to run 2 of these, and with lots of Ultra Balls, what you would do is use Professor Letters, get a bunch of energy, discard them with Ultra Ball, and thin through your deck, search your guys. Pretty cool, pretty nice stuff. It's like we're playing Yu-Gi-Oh or something, but I run 1 in this version, and it should be good enough. Most people would run one anyway. Starting in Megaphone, this is a very important card. Gets rid of your opponent's tools. This is especially useful as an anti-counter to Garbodor. You want to time this right, so when you use this, you utilize your turn and attach a bunch of energies with electrics. Super Rod, this is a great recovery card. You can recover, well, normally you wouldn't recover basic energies in this type of deck, but maybe you want to recover fire energy. But it's mostly to recover Rayquazas, maybe you want to recover any of the Raikous, and electrics. If maybe you had to discard electric early with a Juniper or something. We run one switch, one nice golden switch. Even though I run 2 retreat float stones, uh, I usually like running one switch in most of my decks. A lot of the times you don't have Keldeo, you don't have setup, you can just use a switch combination with a stadium, which we'll see pretty soon. One Trainer's Mill consistency card. I don't like running multiple of these, but it probably is a good idea to run at least 2 if you want to. VS Seeker, I usually run 2 of these. I don't have space for any more, but I guess most people run 3 or 4. Very good card. Get any supporter from the discard pile and use them again. Pretty good. And for stadiums, we have Rough Seas. I only run 1. Sadly, Rayquaza can't use this card to heal, but a lot of the other Pokemon are lightning. So a lot of the times maybe Keldeo got a little bit damaged, and we want to get rid of him and start healing him up so he won't be an easy target. Raikou's a great Pokemon to heal. And it also fucks with the opponent if they maybe slightly started damaging the Dynamos that they think, okay, I'm going to knock him out slowly. Maybe, they use a strategy where they put like 1 or 2 damage counters per turn. And this thing negates that. And another very good stadium, possibly the better stadium, maybe you want to run 2 of these. Sky Arrow Bridge. So this is good because it gives free retreat to everyone, to each basic Pokemon actually. So this is good because a lot of the times, maybe you don't have a float stone on Keldeo, maybe they're prized or you lost them or had to attach them to somebody else. You don't have them anymore. If Sky Arrow Bridge is there, then that means you only need to attach 1 energy for this guy to free retreat, and you can still rush in and, discard 1 energy to retreat, which isn't that bad. It gives free retreat to Rayquazas, Raikou, even Dynamos. Very card. Like I said, a lot of the times you can't rely on float zone and switch, so this is useful. Obviously, your opponent can use it too, but you know, it's fair game. Um, Another famous card that's used in this deck is called Tropical Beach. Uh, you can use it if you have it. I'm not the biggest fan of that card, but I understand it's very useful. I would probably run one if I had it. Probably get rid of one Rough Seas. I don't like to give my opponent the option to use it. Tropical Beach, that is. And also, you know, you probably don't have it. I don't have it. It's a very rare card, an exclusive tournament card. But if you have it, feel free to use it. A lot of people use it. It's a good card in this sort of deck where you want to set up as quickly as possible. If you set up and they can't stop your abilities and you manage to consistently attack and kill things in one hit, you should not lose. You shouldn't lose unless you really mess up or your opponent really like outpaces you or overpowers you even more. So for supporters, we run, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, I think it's 12 or 11. But I run Brigitte. This is another reason why I don't run Ultra Ball and stuff. This is a very solid supporter that can either grab 1 EX or a bunch of non-EX Pokemon. So a lot of the times I like using her, get maybe a bunch of Dynamos if I don't have Level Ball, and Raikou, or, you know, depending on the situation. There's not really a whole lot of different basics I can get, but is a good supporter. It's good against item lock too. Uh, if you have Ultra Balls and stuff like that, you know, you can be stuck with them if you get locked out of trainers. This is a very solid, flexible supporter card, and I like her, so I run one. And the good combo that you can use too is, since this is only good usually early, if you have this, you know, and a VS Seeker, maybe you can ditch her, use VS Seeker, get Brigitte, and use her. Korres, I really love this guy. I always run one in most of my decks. Well, in expanded since you can't use him in standard. He's pretty good. Obviously, you want to use him when both players have you and your opponent have a bunch of bench Pokemon. He can be pretty good. I don't really like running multiple of these, but you can try two maybe. Lysander, I would like to run more than one of these guys because a lot of the times I do need him. Well, probably not in this deck, but in other decks. But space is an issue. So one of these guys with VS Seekers hopefully is enough. But as you guys know, or should know, he's quite strong, can win you the game, pick up any of your opponent's Pokemon, and either stall or more likely kill him. Mistys Determination. This is another one of my discard outlet cards as a supporter. You discard one card. You would probably discard something useless or likely a lightning energy, and add one of the top of the 8 cards of your deck, any card you want. So I didn't used to run this, but I decided to try this out. Uh, it can be alright, it can be maybe a little too slow, but I feel like this deck performs consistently enough so that I want to use it. If you don't get locked out of items, a lot of the items do your work, you're searching and whatnot, so you should be good. N, I usually like to run 3 or 2 of these guys. I never really was the guy that would like to run 4, but I used to run 4, but especially with VS Seeker now, you don't have to. I mean, I was never one of those guys that, even before VS Seeker, that you have to absolutely run 4, and even though most people would say that you should, but he's still a very good supporter. 3 of these guys pretty good in this sort of deck. Maybe you want to run 4 of him. A Juniper, uh, I usually go between 4 or 3 of this girl. You can use Sycamore too, obviously. But she's pretty good. Is a discard outlet. 4 is kind of pushing it maybe. You don't want to maybe have a bunch of these and discard a bunch of Junipers together, or just have them clog, or see her too much. So I think 3 is a good number because we also run Skyla at 2. This can grab a supporter if you have a bad hand, so we can do something next turn. Or usually what you're gonna do is grab an item or something. Maybe grab Lysander, but good card. There's a lot of items to get from these. Professor's Letter is one of the common ones maybe you'll get. Fighting Fury Belt. There's a card that maybe you can dismiss, but I like it because it helps with KOs. So for example, a lot of basic Pokemon have 130 HP. So you would have to discard 3 energy to kill them if you use Rayquaza. But, if you have this, you just need to discard 2 and you do 130. It gives basic Pokemon 40 more HP, makes Rayquaza more durable. The same with the Raikous, and it becomes it gives good synergy with Max Potion too. The 2 Float Stones, I think 2 is enough because we also run a switch. And for energy, I run 3 Fire Energy. This is important. 4, I think is too much. 2, maybe it's too little. Maybe they both get prized, or maybe something happens. 3, I feel, is a good number. I have considered trying 2 many times, but I think 3 is enough. Is the perfect number, 3. And then the rest is lightning energy, so that would be 11 lightning energy. This is kind of a lot. Usually you have less energies in this sort of deck, so maybe I should, I don't know, just cut 1 or 2 and maybe make the deck more consistent. But this is my build, guys. This is definitely a model, but a lot of the stuff here you see is pretty standard. You need to have your ways to switch with Keldeo. You need to have a bunch of electrics and ways to search them. With level ball, you need to have your attackers here. A lot of the trainers like N and Juniper are pretty standard. Things like Sky or Bridge are usually quite common. And I mean, Starlit Megaphone, a lot of decks don't play this card, but this is one of those decks that this is also kind of a standard card, standard tech, because card border is a very big problem. One of your outs, of course, is Raikou. You can kill him, hopefully forever. But it's good to have this, you know. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and feel free to leave suggestions and maybe, text that maybe I should have used or mentioned. I can't really think of anything else to mention. Maybe that you can use other cards. Electric is a very diverse card. You can use this with many Pokemon, obviously. So feel free to experiment. Okay, guys, that's what's up.